Well, hey there, friends. Welcome to the Friday live stream. It's Ryland here with Cade from Collaborate Worship, and we're going to get started in 4 minutes. So hop into the comments and let us know where you're watching from today. We're super excited to jump in and review some of your live streams that you've been submitting. So let us know where you're watching from, and if you've got any questions that are just burning in your mind, you can go ahead and drop those in the chat as well. I do have a poll running right now that I'd love for you to check out in the chat. Have you begun your Easter planning? Easter is April 20th, Cade. Have you guys begun your Easter planning?
I'm sure Dylan has.
Dylan has, okay. Well, you know, I have not. I can't. I've done some Good Friday planning, so I guess that qualifies as Easter planning. But we're a little scaled back this year with everything that's been going on.
I was going to say, I'm kind of surprised that you haven't started yet.
Yeah, I know. We've been talking, so I guess that is kind of planning. But let us know if you've been planning, and maybe you're doing better off than me. But let us know where you're joining from today. I'm super excited to hop in and just have a good time chatting about all things church tech. You know, what else has been going on in the church tech world. Review your live streams. There's been 12, 13 of you submitted, and man, it's gonna be a great day. Hey, thank you to Nigel for the super chat already. We've got a goal this morning of $5 super chats, and that will get you access to my most embarrassing moment on stage as a worship leader. I will share that story with you if we hit that goal today.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough to choose, honestly, because there's been quite a few in my, 20 plus years of leading worship, quite a few worship fails. But there's one in my mind that sticks out that was pretty bad. But we're only going to share it if we hit the goal today. All right? So
what's the goal?
The goal is $5 super chats. Okay. So the way you do that, there's a little cash sign in the chat, and you just click on that, and it's just a little thank you to me for hopping on and doing this Friday live stream. So yeah, it's gonna be a great time. Let's see here. What else we got going on?
Hey, Nigel from Louisiana. We got Small Church Tech with us. KTK Pro, hello. And Ramel. Great to have you guys.
Let's see.
You know, interesting story about me and Ryland is I found Ryland on YouTube first, and then quickly found out that he lived in the same city that I live in, which is a small suburb of Tulsa. What are the chances?
It's crazy, man.
It is crazy.
It's seriously crazy.
So it's just like a 10-minute drive here to Ryland's office today.
We're just right around the corner.
It's amazing.
All right, I'm trying to get our YouTube chat pulled in here so I can bring these up. It wasn't working.
Hey, Marshall from Texas. Practically a neighbor. Got somebody from London, England.
London, England?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh, gosh. All right, Cade, tell me what you guys have been up to over at No Limits Church. I know here at Central, we've been under construction, but you guys have been doing some stuff. And while you do that, I'm going to get the YouTube API chat enabled. All right?
Sounds good. Well, we recently did an expansion at our church, and what was interesting is we just expanded our auditorium out into the lobby. It was just 15 feet of expansion, a total of like 450 square feet added to the room. But shockingly, that added like 40 chairs to the room and made the room just feel awesome. We did a whole video on YouTube about all the upgrades and what that process was like. It was a pretty quick remodel, a lot quicker than what Ryland's going through right now. Yours is much more involved than what we just went through. But we also just closed on some land. I haven't even told you that. So
what?
We are going to start the building process. Our pre-construction meeting with the city is next week. So we'll be building an auditorium that seats about 300 or 400 people.
No way.
Yeah. So I guess we're just kind of right behind you in a huge construction project.
Okay. So Are you allowed to share where that will be yet?
Yeah, it's right off the highway at 106th Street North. You know where the bowling alley is.
Uh-huh.
Yep. There's a 7-acre plot of land right there that we just struck a deal on. So
that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Very
we're excited.
Cool. So what's the timeline on that, you think?
Oh, I would love to have something ready by the end of the year. And that's a lofty goal, which will take a lot of focus and planning and orchestrating between all the subcontractors and stuff like that. But
right,
because our lease is up where we're at now at the end of the year. So that'd be perfect timing. If not,
wow.
We'll just come crash your place.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So you'll be done by then, right?
The plan is around here to be done by the end of the year is tentatively the plan. But you know how that goes, right?
Things come up.
Yeah. It's a slow burn, but it's a good burn. It's great. You know, things are great. They're moving dirt. They're paving things. We've put up a lot of walls and taken down a lot of walls.
Making progress.
That's right. Yeah. Hey, so over on Collaborate Worship, what's kind of been the new things of the last month or two? What's some new videos you've released, some course stuff? Can you talk to us about that?
Sure, yeah. The most recent video is a partnership with Pro Church Lights, which if you're in the market for some new lighting, it's a great video to go watch. We went over all the ins and outs of front lighting, which is an aspect that a lot of churches overlook because it's more fun to get into the effect lighting, the colors and the moving lights and things like that. But if your front lighting's not good, then really, like when it comes to what you see on camera, especially, the other stuff's not really going to matter. So everything you need to know about front lighting is in that video. And Pro Church Lights was a great partner with that. They even have, there's a special offer where you can go get a simulation of what your place would look like with the right front lights and how many you need and things like that. So that's a pretty cool thing that they offer. So go check that out. We also did a bunch of camera upgrades recently. So we hadn't been focused on the visual side of things at our church, and then we just create content on everything that we're doing at No Limits on Collaborate Worship.
And if you guys aren't familiar with Collaborate Worship, like they've been around a minute. You guys kind of started with like blog posts almost.
Yep. 15 years ago.
15 years ago. And you got a myriad of courses and stuff. Can you kind of talk about what you offer in that realm?
For sure. Our goal is to make it simple to sound great. So over the last 15 years, what we've been doing is drilling down of everything that you could know about sound. What are the most essential things you need to know? Because the reality is, like, especially if you're serving in a small church, you don't have a lot of time to invest into training, and you may not even have a lot of time to even practice your skills at church because maybe you can only go Sunday morning or whatever because you're a setup tear down. So we want to make it accessible to small churches to sound great. So we went to the big churches to find out what they're doing and like, okay, how does this apply? How does this multi-million-dollar sound system, what they're doing with that, apply to a church that's just using a Behringer X32 and some regular speakers, you know? And so, over the last 15 years, we've really nailed that. So we have a course called Church Sound Made Simple. You're going to learn all the essentials, like nothing more. Like these are the things that move the needle the most. And we wanted to keep it focused on that so you don't get distracted by all the other things you could learn. There's a lot more you could learn, but I say the things that we teach get you like 80% of the way there. And you're going to be sounding awesome with these things. Now, there's the other 20% that if you have time, you could go into and learn all the extra, right?
Yeah.
But we never go into the extra because we want to keep you focused on the essentials, because if you don't have those down, what's the point of the extra anyway?
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Hey, and the cool thing is that one of you that has already registered for the giveaway today is going to win lifetime access to these courses from Collaborate Worship. So if you haven't yet registered, you have until 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. There's a link in the description of this video that I'll try to put in the chat here in just a minute as well to get registered. But speaking of the chat, I do want to give some shout outs to Nigel for the super chat.
Thank you.
He was the first of the day. And then also Waggy Dogs.
Nice.
Thank you.
And then Jim says hello from Michigan with another super chat.
Thank you.
Triple thank yous, man. And let's just let's give some other shout outs here to who else is joining. Let me bring up the chat where I want it here. All right. No, let's see. Nigel, you're joining from Louisiana. We've got Small Church Tech in the house from Crystal Lake. Who else? From Hong Kong in the house.
Nice.
Watching from Hong Kong almost midnight. That's amazing. Let's see. Who else do we have hopping in on here? Damien says, morning, amigos. Hey, how's it going? And then we got Levi jumping in from Norway. That's awesome. And then even Dr. Paul coming in from Uganda. Love Uganda. I've been there. It's a great place. Beautiful place. What's the weather like in Uganda this time of year? And then we got even North Idaho and England and Jamaica and India on here. Guys, it's amazing. Isn't it cool to see like just the body of Christ come together to have iron sharpening iron?
It's awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. It's so cool. So cool. Man. So today, here's what we're going to do on the live stream. We're going to jump into some live stream reviews that you guys have submitted. Kade is our resident audio expert, and so he's going to be able to give a lot of great feedback for that. And we've got 3 that we have selected from the, I think, 12 or 13 that have been submitted already, and we're going to go through those. And then if you want to move to the front of the line after those 3, you can super chat as well. We'd love to just do some Q&A with you guys as well. So drop those in the chat and we will jump into some Q&A with you guys. But before we do any of that, what I'd like to do is, one thing about you, Kade, that I've noticed is that you're quite professional. You're a very well-learned man. And I think the people need to see another side of Kade Young.
Uh-oh.
That they need to see Kade Young crack. They need to see Kade Young laugh a little bit. Like, what makes Kade Young laugh? And so we're going to do a little try not to laugh challenge with Pastor Kade here. All right?
That sounds good.
So let's jump into some worship fails with Kade Young. All right, so these are 3 of my favorites. You may have seen these. I don't know, Kade. But this one comes to you from Sunday Worship Fails. Let's see if I've got the volume going. It says, I'm excited for this church. Let's go. Is that what No Limits is like?
If I started dancing, it might look like that. 'Cause
I'm impressed with the hip movements.
my wife always tells me that I can't dance in public because it's usually my hips are moving in inappropriate ways. So she's like, just be still.
Even at that age, look at that.
I know.
That's impressive.
That's great.
Oh my gosh. Okay, and then let's see. Here is another one. Oh man, this one had me rolling the other day. This song.
Down the prison walls, wanna face that fire, won't burn though. God's got my backside ripped and beat like a Bendigo. Good Lord, I wanna walk like Moses.
Do you do this song? Have you ever heard this song? Okay. This is the new song from Brandon Lake. Well, who knows if it's new anymore. It was out a month ago, so it's not new anymore. But it's got this line in it, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. And I refuse to do it because of this very fear.
Wanna face that fire, won't burn though. God's got my backside ripped and beat like a Bendigo. I wanna walk like Moses.
That would be me. That would be me. All right. Here's the last one, if I can find it.
I mean, not
here.
to mention in children's church when I was growing up, it was a bendigo, not a beddigo.
A bendigo?
Yep, a bendigo. Maybe that's just a...
Okay, and one of my vocalists sent me this one the other day. When you think the crowd mics were a great idea to have in your monitor mix. Have you seen this one?
To the 1. To the 6. Turn the crowd mics off. Turn the crowd mics off. Turn the crowd mics off. Quickly. Turn the crowd mics off. 'Cause this is a move.
That's why it's important to fly your crowd mics.
Yeah.
My fear would be with those, because I think a guy walked up to the stage and had the mic right there on the stage.
That is great.
It's like, it's my shining moment. I'm gonna get up there and be able to be in the mix.
Yeah. The ultimate test for the vocals, to go ahead and stay on pitch while that's going on, right?
Oh my gosh, man.
That's so good.
Yeah, that
Oh, man.
worship fails, baby. Keep us humble. If you can't laugh at yourself, then you have issues of your own that you probably need to deal with. So, you have any worship fails that you want to share? You had any big, giant things that have happened? I mean, you're not usually leading worship. You're preaching on a Sunday, typically,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
But you ever had any big moments where you left your pack on in the bathroom or anything like that?
I've not done that. no.
Okay, you're an expert.
Yeah, nothing comes to mind right now, although there have been plenty. There have been plenty, yes.
Oh my gosh. Let's see. Small Church wants to know, Ryland, have you thought about growing your beard out like Kade's? Oh my god.
That's an important question.
Have I thought about it? Yes, I have thought about it. Let's
Takes
see if
some
I can...
time, though.
Okay, tell me your beard regimen, Cade, because this is not an easy task. Like, this takes some TLC.
Nobody believes me when I say this, but it's really simple for me. I blow dry it while I'm combing it down. Otherwise, it's just this big bush on my face. So that's all. That's the trick. You're combing it down and you're blow drying it at the same time, and then this is what it looks like. I don't put any oil or anything.
No
like
beard
that.
oil?
No beard oil.
Just shampoo, conditioner.
Nope. I'm actually just using regular lye soap to wash it, which maybe that dries some people's beard out. But
you just
works for me.
natural oils
I guess
combined
so.
with that is fine.
I guess I'm an oily person.
See, my thing is like, whenever it gets past maybe another week of growth, it just becomes like curly-ish and not nice. Like, but blow drying it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you have to grow it past that point. Like if mine was probably like, half an inch or an inch shorter, I'd probably still have that problem.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I got to persevere, I guess, maybe. It's just, I've never done it. So
You'd have to stick it out for about a year, probably 9 months.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. Bryson, what's up, fellow Okie? Good morning to you. I'll pin some of these questions that you guys are asking for some later Q&A here in the chat. Oh man, Keith. Hey, he says, I've learned so much from you both over the last few years. Thanks for the content. Keith, thank you. That is really encouraging. I don't know about you, Cade, but like anytime somebody gives a comment like this, it just fuels me enough to make the next video sometimes.
For sure.
Because it takes about 10 of these to offset one hater comment sometimes. And we are doing this for the Big C Church at the end of the day. Like, that's why we're making content. That's why we're here on a Friday on our day off doing this kind of thing, is for you guys and for the church. And so I hope that it is edifying to the church and encouraging to you guys and helpful. Mm-hmm. So, yeah,
Yes.
I really appreciate that. All right. Well, I say let's jump into some live stream reviews.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. So this first live stream review comes to us from Freedom Church. So, Mr. Jorge Diaz, if you are in the chat today, let us know, and we would love to be able to dialogue with you as we review your church's live stream. So this is their setup that they're working with. They've got some Sony a6400s for video stuff, ATEMs, going into ProPresenter, and then for audio, they are rocking a post-fader bus mix from an X32. which you are quite familiar with.
Sweet.
So that's kind of something you've championed, is that method.
Yes.
So that's something we can dive in and maybe even help them with a little bit more. It says their biggest pain point is maybe some like weird jitteriness with video and just wondering about like, is it packet loss? Like what may be causing that? Don't know if we can diagnose that via this, but we can maybe throw out some ideas. So let's jump into Freedom Church's live stream here, and we will give it a listen and a watch. You guys hop into the chat and let us know what you hear.
Stone was moved for good, for the Lamb had conquered death, and the dead rose from their tombs. Then the angels stood in awe, for the souls of all who'd come to the Father are restored, and the church of Christ was born. Then the Spirit lit the flame. Now this gospel truth of old shall not be moved, shall not fade. By His blood and in His name, in His freedom I am free. For the love of Jesus Christ, who has resurrected me.
All right, let's listen to this chorus.
Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God alone, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings, praise forever to the King of Kings.
Nice.
Yeah. It's pretty solid, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Jorge, very impressive.
Very much so.
Good job, Freedom Church. So is there anything just on first listen, I mean, we're just listening here for a minute, that jumps out at you?
The drum mix is like off the chain. Your drum mix sounds better than my drum mix, so I'm a little bit jealous about that, honestly. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like how you pulled that off. It's hard to see. Are you using electronic drums back there? And that's why, I mean, they sound like mastered, beautiful drums. So be curious to know like what your setup is there. If you're getting that out of acoustic drums, it's just like, dang,
Yeah.
drum master over there.
Yeah, they appear to be acoustic. I see a giant ride cymbal there. That was going to be one of my feedbacks, was that I wish I could see the drums.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you can throw a camera in there somehow, that would be great, because drums add so much energy to the live stream. And one thing that I think they're lacking is any movement in their cameras, because it looks like it's a very confined space, which me and you are used to right now in our smaller auditoriums. But you can still add motion to cameras. And if you can't, getting cameras close to things that have motion like gives you energy. So getting a camera close to drums is going to give more energy to a shot.
Yeah.
And so getting a camera, it looks like you got some light on a drummer. Thank you in that cage over there. That's great. What do you think about on the vocals? EQ, sibilance. How do you tackle vocals like this with compression, grouping? Let's listen just a little bit more.
Yeah, so I have to be like nitpicky to pick this mix because it's a good mix. Like,
Yeah.
if I just heard this in passing, I wouldn't even go up and say anything. Like, I'd have to listen for it.
Yeah.
But as I was listening, because you want feedback, so one thing that I noticed is the lead vocal to me sounded too thin. Like, she needs some more warmth to her voice. It sounds like you're boosting too much in the high frequency range. Like, it's probably 5 kilohertz and above. There's a boost going on, is what it sounds like to me. So the S's are a little harsh. It just sounds a little bit too crispy to me. So I would dial back any boosting that's going on above 5 kilohertz. And then I'd also check my eye, like what are you cutting in the low end to see if you can add just a little bit of warmth back to her. Like I like the vocal to always be the perfect balance of clarity and warmth. And to me, it's just a little bit too far leaning on the clear side of things. I just want more warmth to the vocal.
Yeah, I agree. Visually, one thing I think you could do, like they had that big build going where they were kind of going to build back into the song, and it just kind of hung on that one camera shot for a long time. If you can begin to build with your different camera shots with pacing, a lot of times when you are limited to maybe 4 cameras, you begin to feel like, should I even be switching anymore? Like it's just 4 cameras. But I think that if you pick your moments of when to do that, it can be still powerful. So this shot right here is one that I would probably try to tweak a little bit. I think that you have 2/3 of the shot being your audience in the shot, and then just the upper third being just a sliver of your band. And I would kind of probably try to reverse that a little bit to where your band and your key lighted area is more the majority of the shot. So if that's elevating your tripod a little bit, or even just panning up a little bit, it looks like if you can elevate the tripod, though, that would be better, maybe just a couple of feet. Usually you want your tripod eye level with the people on stage is what people typically say. Even a little bit above sometimes is even a more flattering position. You know, you want that wife glamour shot, taking it from up above.
Make us look a little skinnier.
That's right. Get rid of that double beard. The old double beard. Yeah, but guys, I think this is a great example of a post-fader bus mix.
Yeah, y'all, that was a post-fader bus mix.
Let's go.
It sounded so good.
Let's go.
Yep.
So, this brings up a good question, because I think a lot of people are scared about that. And one question we got here from Danny: should I switch to a DAW for my live stream, or should I use a mix bus for my live stream? Let's talk about the relationship of when a DAW might solve a problem, or when a bus mix is still probably sufficient and can get a good thing. Like, what is maybe a factor in a decision like that?
Let's say you have an awful room that you're working with where the echo is just off the charts. Maybe you're in an old cathedral or a big gym or something like that. You may never get a great post-fader bus mix in a situation like that. Other than that, I think you can get a great post-fader bus mix in any other room.
Yeah. So basically, when you wouldn't want to do a post-fader bus mix, guys, is if you're having to correct a bunch of things on your board for a bad room. So let's say you're EQing and having to have weird gain structure for all of your different stuff because your room is just in such bad shape acoustically that you're shaving out so much, you're carving out so much EQ that now on a live stream, or just like, you know, the direct feeds to a live stream, it's missing all those frequencies.
Yeah. Well, there is a way to overcome that too with room EQ. So, which I have a video out there. I even have a course called Room EQ Made Simple. And this is where you're applying EQ to your main mix to color the whole mix to fit your room. So you're pulling out frequencies that are bouncing around, and you're only putting this on your main mix. So that same EQ is not going to your live stream. Your live stream is getting an uncolored mix, which is what you want to happen. So you need great room EQ for your post-fader bus mix to sound great. If you're not using room EQ, then you're probably never going to get that as good as it could be anyways of your live stream mix. But let's say you have your room so bad that your drums are not even in your mix at all, like your room mix.
Yep.
Because there's so much going on already. That's a case where you probably want a DAW mix, because it's going to be hard to get your live stream mix to sound great in a situation like that.
Yeah. So what is your favorite plugin, say, on an X32 to EQ your room?
I just use the graphic equalizer, 31 band, insert that on the main mix, and use that to EQ the room.
All right. So room EQ for powerful and painless sound.
Yep, that's the one.
All right, guys. I'm going to put this link in the chat right now, and you guys can check that out after this live stream ends.
Don't leave.
Don't leave, baby. And it looks like, you know, we have 3 super chats of the 5 needed that our goal is. So, yeah, go ahead and think about that if you want to donate there. But there is a link. And Marshall says, agree 100% with that logic. I agree. Yeah, that's super important.
Somebody commented how the low mid-range sounded a bit crowded, and I would agree with that. I was going to comment on that. I think it was mainly the piano, and I'm a piano guy, so I loved the sound of that piano. So great job on that. It did sound like it was dominating the mix a little bit too much. So I would have brought the piano down and probably the guitars up a little bit. Like I'm talking like slight difference, because I was mainly just hearing piano and drums, and bass guitar.
Yeah,
it's like, where's the guitars?
Yes. Yeah. Oh man. Well. Listen, the pianist always wants a little more piano. The guitarist always wants a little more guitar.
Yeah.
It's funny how...
Well, that song does require piano, because it's kind of a lead instrument in that song.
Absolutely. It's got that hook going on it. So that makes sense there for sure. Yeah, that's great. Look at this. Budget live streaming. Dang. These guys really got together in person and didn't invite me. You don't...
He's in Oklahoma City, too.
Yeah. You want to drive up I-44? Come on, Josh. Next time I'll get a bigger table.
Yeah, he's only an hour and a half away. I'm sure he'd make the drive.
He for sure would. Next time. Don't tempt me, Josh. Don't tempt me. Oh, that's great. All right, let's hop into another live stream, and then I do have a couple other Q&As that we'll circle back to maybe after this one. So
he's gonna bring the table, he said.
He's gonna bring the table. That's awesome. I love it. Oh, you may have to, because literally this was the only one I could find here at the church. It's a 2 foot by 2 foot card table, it feels like. So, all right, this next one comes to us from my friend Perez Goggins and Orbit Church. So let's go ahead and listen and watch to a little bit of their stream.
Good morning, Orbit Church. Let's stand to our feet and let's just worship the Lord today.
First of all, I really like that transition. The way they came right out of the countdown. It was like shimmering, and it was like very cohesive.
Good morning, Orbit Church. Let's stand to our feet and let's just worship the Lord today. Let's go. Hey! Try with all my might, but I just can't win a fight. I'm slowly drifting.
So for their setup, they're using an SQ5 as their main soundboard. They come out of that with a USB into a MacBook Pro into Ableton Live to use some wave effects for their broadcast. And they're planning on getting Dante eventually into that SQ5, but for now that's how they're routing it. But he says audio is kind of their main pain point. So let's keep
listening. So it's a DAW mix.
Yeah.
He turned me around. He placed my feet on solid ground. I thank the Master. I thank the Savior, because He healed my heart. He changed my name, forever free. I'm not the same. I thank the Master. I thank the Savior. I thank God. Hey, I cannot deny what I see. Got no choice but to believe. My doubts are burning like ashes in the wind. So long to my old friends. Burden and bitterness, you can just keep it moving. No, you ain't welcome there.
Another thing about Orbit Church is they're also a setup teardown.
Oh my!
Church plant.
Wow.
Yeah, I think they've been going for about a year and a half or so.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of pieces that they're setting up and tearing down every single Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything you're hearing that jumping out at you?
Well, first of all, it's a good mix. Like there's nothing to be ashamed about with this mix, right? It's a solid mix. I think most of your congregants would be happy with what they're hearing in a mix like this. Some things that you could do though to make it better is I'm hearing a little bit too much ambience. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's ambient mics or the vocals are holding their mics correctly. I don't know where the ambience is coming from, but it's a little much. Almost like maybe have some reverb in the mix that's fighting with the ambient mics. So there needs to be a better marriage going on there and just a little less ambience overall to bring some focus to the mix, because it just feels a little bit like Swimmy.
A little swimmy. That's the
swimmy.
exact word I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, like, I noticed at the beginning, the vocal was buried in the mix, and then there was a correction, and the vocal came up, and the correction was an over-correction, and now the vocal is just, like, maxing out the limiter and getting squashed and things like that. So that's just don't overcorrect. Like, I know, oh, crap, like, the vocal's too low, and there's like, all the way up. So,
Yeah.
simple fix.
I'm just amazed that in a setup teardown, they're able to do acoustic drums like this. And maybe that's where some of the ambience is coming from, having to, set up and mic an acoustic kit that's not caged.
Could be.
In a space like this. When you're setting up in probably a school, it's probably not treated for worship rock style music.
Yeah.
So that maybe could be some of the issues that you're fighting, is just the room itself is not really built for that kind of setup. I think that, you've got this giant light bar that you guys put up every Sunday. If you could add some audience wash to that light bar, then I think that could have a good impact here. Like if we push back to right here, the audience is just really dark in a lot of these shots where you can see the silhouettes, but you could fly just some of those lights that I've reviewed, or anything really that would be very washy, just to wash your audience with some extra light to be able to give some definition there to the silhouettes. I really enjoy these kinds of shots where you've got focus still here on your singers, but you are showing your crowd. I think that's great. I love how energetic and like into the worship your team is. Really nice. I know you've got a budget LED wall here. There was a couple of shots where it looks like you've got camera sync figured out here in your main shot, because I don't see any flicker or banding or anything like that. But then on a couple of other shots, there was a lot of like banding and synchro not working stuff. So if you can just make sure, if you have like custom settings that you can save on those cameras, especially if you're setting up and tearing down, that way like C1 is always going to be the right settings each week, because it's really easy just to, maybe you shoot a testimony video and it's different, and then now, we forgot, and now it's on the wrong settings. So, but I think white balance looks really good. Lighting looks really good here on Pastor.
There's a great balance between like brightness of the LED wall and brightness of the front lighting.
I agree.
A lot of churches struggle with that.
Yeah.
The LED wall is like so bright compared to everything else. But they got it right on this one.
Yeah, that's a key consideration for sure. LED walls, you get one and then you realize, now we need a lot more key lighting to be able to balance that with our LED wall, so it's not just a big white wall behind everything. Let's listen just for another minute here to a different section and see if, sometimes you fix things midway through the service.
For sure.
So
yes.
Let's see, once this kicks in a little bit, what things sound like now that they've got everything kind of rocking and vibing here. All right.
Always on time, and you were always on time. There's never been a day,
Yeah, we kind of talked about that.
never been a moment that you weren't in it. There's never been a time that you didn't see me through, God. So I worship you. There's never been a day, never been a minute, never been a moment that you weren't in it. There's never been a time that you didn't see me through, God. So I worship you. There's never been a day, never been a minute, never been a moment that you weren't in it. There's never been a time that you didn't see me through, God. So I worship you. Oh, there's never been a day, never been a minute, never been a moment that you weren't in it. There's never been a time that you didn't see me through, God. So I worship you, oh, Jesus. I was lost in water.
One of the main things I'm hearing is that we're too heavy in the like 500 to 700 kilohertz range, like those upper lower mids, and that's, if you clean up that area, you're gonna like your mix a lot better. And so where I would start is I don't like that range in a vocal, and people may differ in opinion with that, but I'll almost have a 6 to 9 dB cut in the 600 hertz range on a vocal. Not every vocal requires it, but most of them do. That just takes out kind of like the nasally, ugly area of a vocal, and you're going to do the same thing on your drum mics. Off your toms, your snare drum, just pull out that 500, 600 hertz range. Like significant. I'm talking like on the drums, you can put a huge cut right there, and it's going to take the boxiness out of your drums. It's also going to take away any ambient noise that's coming from that frequency range that's maybe mudding up your mix too. So that's the first thing that I do in this mix is go through and clean up that 600 hertz range on the vocals and the drum mics, and you're going to be amazed at how big of a difference it makes.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think for a setup and teardown church, the live stream that you guys are offering
So
to
good.
it is very great.
Yep.
I mean, I think that maybe upgrading your wireless stuff to maybe the next bump up of something that has some zero latency stuff would be good if you're gonna go for those close-up shots. I was noticing a lot of those tom hits, if you're using like a Hollyland that has a lot of latency, it's almost distracting when they're not with the tom hit, so that might be a wise investment, and that's, I think wireless is a good investment for setup and tear down churches.
Yeah.
Because who wants to be running piles of SDI if you have the ability to invest in maybe $1,000 Teradek A750 or something like that is probably what I'd go with. So that would be one of my thoughts. I love the pacing, the cuts, a lot of the camera matching. Be careful with some of the handheld stuff. It got a little messy at times, but that can be okay at times too. But yeah, Carez, thank you for submitting. I really appreciate it. So shout out to, what was it? Orbit Church. I almost said Oasis. Orbit, keep it up, guys.
Solid vocalist right there too. She was nailing it.
Yeah, she was doing really good. Hey, we talked a lot about drums there, and we had a question come in from Eric. When drums dominate the stage, what approach works best to open discussion on our alternative solutions? So, what is your approach? We're talking a lot about small church spaces. Mm-hmm. You guys have kind of even done some different things recently with your drums. Maybe talk about how your church has handled drums in your smaller space.
We've been all over the spectrum, and there's multiple different solutions. So it depends, like how much time do you have to invest, how much money do you have to invest into making it better. The simplest thing you can do is try different drumsticks. You can switch from regular sticks to what's called rods, and it changes the whole tonality of the drums, and often it'll solve the problem. Like we had one service in a different venue that was just awful in this certain frequency range, and just having our drummer switch from sticks to rods solved the problem that we were having with the drums dominating the room. So try different sticks. I mean, you can pick those up for like $8 a pair, right? So that's a really simple thing to try. But I forgot the most important part. The first thing to start is to have a discussion with your drummer.
Yes.
And they need to use control.
You mean your drummer shouldn't walk in and like the worship guys just changed everything, or the sound guys just like redone his whole drum set?
No. Yeah, don't do that. There needs to be a great relationship between the sound guy and the drummer, because the sound guy or gal is going to have to be like, hey, drummer, we need a little less. Like you're dominating the room. I can't add you to the mix. And so your drums don't actually sound as good as they could. And so dial it back a bit. Like let's bring the whole dynamic down a little bit. Drummers don't like to hear that. But if you keep going away, eventually they'll oblige. And hopefully, we have a great drummer now, so anything we ask him to do, because that relationship was formed over time. So if we ask him to quiet it down, he's more than willing to do that. Yeah.
Well, and for us, we went from a space that could seat 550 people with lots of sound treatment everywhere, pretty dead room, to a much smaller space across the hall from us here that seats pushing 175.
Yeah.
And still a decently dead room. But I just didn't want to spend the money on a giant aquarium drum enclosure to be able to have our acoustic drums. And so we just bit the bullet, and we're just using the Alesis electronic drum kit. Now, we are using all custom samples in that drum kit. And so that has made it tolerable.
Yeah.
I would say that the sounds are great. The playability, it's like the drummers are the ones having to compromise.
They're feeling the difference. Yeah,
man, it's just cymbals, man.
Are you a keys guy?
No, I'm a guitarist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I grew up, my mom's a classically trained, has her master's in piano performance. My dad is a drummer, great drummer. And I just was like, I don't want to learn either of those things, you know?
Gotcha.
And so
I was going to say the feel matters. I'm a keys guy. And so thinking about, there's different levels of keyboards. Some feel more like a real one, others don't. And it makes a huge difference in your dynamics. And yeah, so the drummer feels the same pain. Now, there's some great solutions these days where it feels more real. The pads aren't like plastic anymore, but there's some kind of mesh sort of material, so it feels more real. Even so, you can tell when you're hearing an electronic kit because you're like, there's a life that's missing to this.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like the samples we put in there, I mean, there's 12 different samples at variable, you know, they're triggering at different intensities or whatever, but
still
it's only 12 samples for each cymbal, you know, so that's never going to replicate a real kit when you're trying to swell on a cymbal for a crescendo. You know, it just can't do it.
Which is infinite on a real cymbal. Like
exactly.
The differences.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just a compromise we had to make. And sometimes that may be the best decision for your church congregation.
Yeah.
And for the sound of the room
true.
and for the sound of the live stream and for the sound of the band. Because what would have happened is if we tried to put acoustic drums in there, it would have caused so many other domino problems for our audio mix in every other realm and our drummers understood that.
Yeah.
They were mature enough to realize, hey, this isn't all about me. Like, this is about worship and the church being able to engage.
Yeah.
And like literally one of the biggest fears of our senior adults walking in there were, what are we going to do with all the drums?
Yeah.
You know, and whenever they saw that I was doing that, it brought so much peace to them.
Yeah.
And we've transitioned from, we don't even have a traditional service anymore. And this is a church where we had a traditional service for a long time.
Wow.
And so they've been very giving towards moving that way. We have an amazing church here.
That's awesome.
And so that was a way I could even give back even more.
Yeah.
And so look for ways you can compromise as well.
Great call, man. And plus, it's temporary for you. Like, if this was going to be permanent, you probably would have taken the effort and the time and the money to figure out how to make acoustic drums work. But it just wasn't worth it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And because there are electronic drum kits cost a lot if you want to get really good ones.
For sure.
And so then it does become a question of like, should we spend that much money on an electronic drum kit?
Right.
So I don't know, unless somebody wants to sponsor me and like send me an electronic drum kit or something, that'd be cool.
We're accepting sponsors.
Yeah.
A great electronic drum kit.
That's right. Oh, cool.
You can send it to me first. Collaborate Worship, and then Russell can be second.
That's right. Yeah. Hey, thanks for joining from Angola, Africa. Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, let's jump into our third live stream review here. All right. We have got Two Rivers Church. Let's listen and watch just a little bit here.
Two Rivers. Happy anniversary to Two Rivers. Happy birthday.
So Two Rivers is using a split off of an S32 stage box. One is going to front of house, one's going to broadcast. Then audio is going into Pro Tools, then going back to the board.
Okay, another DAW mix.
Yeah, so cameras, they're using some JVC cameras, and they're all pretty much fixed, and some cheapy cameras on drums. So, yeah, let's just watch here and listen, and then we'll give some feedback.
His praise is the water my enemies drowning. As long as I'm breathing, I've got a reason to praise the Lord. Whoa, my soul. Praise the Lord. Oh, my soul. I'll praise when I feel it. I'll praise when I don't. I'll praise because I know you're still in control. My praise is a weapon. It's more than a sound. My praise is the shout that brings Jericho down. As long as I'm breathing, as long as I'm breathing, I've got a reason to praise the Lord. Oh, my soul. Praise the Lord. Oh, my soul. I won't be quiet. I won't be quiet. My God is alive. Well, how could I keep it inside? I'm gonna praise the Lord. Oh, my soul.
All right, Cade, what are you hearing?
The lead vocal is way out in front of the mix, and it's making it sound awkward and a little bit almost on the irritating side to me. So it's like your lead vocal should always be on top of the mix, but he's like way up here somewhere. And so bring him down to where he's just sitting right on top of the mix. And then he also needs some reverb added to him because it sounds like you're getting a dry feed from the vocal. There may be some on there, but I'm not even hearing it. So increase that significantly just to bring that vocal to life. Because right now he doesn't even really sound like he's part of the mix. It kind of sounds like he's off singing in another room or something like that.
Yeah.
And other than that, it's just I don't hear a lot of EQ problems here or compression problems. I just hear a balance problem. Like we need way more drums in this mix. Like
way
so
more.
much more drums. Yeah, vocal needs to come down. Drums need to come up. Bass guitar is sounding like it needs a little bit of clarity to it. So it may need to be compressed more and maybe some EQ going on there because it's just like a real low rumble and there's no real clarity to it.
Yeah.
But mainly just a balance thing.
Yeah.
If you brought the drums up in this mix, it would just like make the whole thing make sense.
I think so too. Yeah, it's like at first I was like, is there a drummer in that drum enclosure? And I was like, no, I see a drummer in there. So it was that bad where I'm like, bro, bring those drums up. Come on. They probably watched this back and they're like, why am I even playing?
Probably so.
There they are. And it's electronic drums.
Oh,
just
man.
turn them up.
Okay,
there's no reason not to have them up.
And especially in a fast song like this, it's like kick, snare is the drive of the song. So, I mean, that should almost be up there with the lead vocal, like as far as level wise. I mean, just really driving the song. And so, and this is a like really high energy song.
Yeah. Let's
give me the drums.
All right, so let's just fast forward and like see, do they fix it later on or something? You know, like sometimes that happens where it's like they fix it later in the service.
That's who I pray. That's who I pray.
As it goes to a drop, of course.
I still didn't hear drums. I heard tracks that had some rhythm to it.
I did hear tracks.
Yep.
I want to love like Jesus.
Let's go forward. Oh, of course. It's like going back right there.
I'm gonna praise the heavens, created, undefeated, highest of names. That's who I praise. Hey, I praise the God who's proven.
See, and then this song's just a whole other problem. The tracks are overwhelming the mix.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it kind of sounds like whoever's doing the DAW mix needs a better understanding of how instruments fit together and vocals fit together. Each song, because they're all different.
Yeah.
So probably just needs to spend more time listening to the songs before they come to church so they know how it's supposed to sound.
Yeah.
Who's the lead instrument in this song? Who's the lead vocal? How are things supposed to be layered?
Yeah.
And just spending time with a great pair of headphones on listening to these songs and pulling them apart on how things are stacked together.
Yeah. One thing I will say is that I love their stage design. I think it looks so, yeah,
it's great.
It looks very clean, very symmetrical, which I'm a fan of. And it looks balanced. It looks great on camera. I know you said your camera's struggling low light, but it seems like they're doing okay to me. So you must have enough going on there. I mean, camera wise, I'm not sure exactly what to tell you, except probably at this point, you just need to add something with motion. You need to add a roamer to give you that flexibility. I think what you're feeling is, you said you only have 4 shots. If you had that 5th shot, or you take one of those that fourth corner shot and make it a roaming camera, that opens up infinite amounts of shots. So now you got 3 shots, but you've got somebody you can always just be coaching to go to a different thing. and that will make you feel much more creative and being able to like breathe new life into your live stream. So even if they're on a long SDI cable or something for the time being, like you don't have to go wireless. Even if they're just over in the corner of the room, that breathes new life into your live stream. Or on stage over in the corner. That's how we started, actually, was just off to the corner of the stage wired. And that will help a lot because, like, you know, the drums I saw did have that little shot, but maybe that's where you stick that handheld person instead. So yeah, how do you handle coaching? Because in my opinion, the best live stream or the best audio people are musicians, because they understand that, what we were just talking about, like what a song needs and how to serve the song with audio. But let's say you got that guy who's like, hey, I'm a DJ, or, you know, I just love running audio stuff. I like to tinker with electronics. How do you begin educating and helping them understand how to do that?
I feel the hands-on experience, like where you record the tracks on a Sunday and maybe you get together and you play the live stream back, and you're not brutally honest, but you're honest and straightforward about here's what's wrong with this song, here's how it should have sounded like, and you pull up those tracks and you remix it together so that they can start to understand what it's supposed to sound like. Because you're just training the ear, right? This is a person who obviously has the skills down to create a mix, because you can hear that he's EQing well and he's using compression well and things like that. So he's got the technicalities down of creating a great mix. He just doesn't have the balance. Like he doesn't have the music side down, like how it's supposed to feel, how it's supposed to layer and things like that. And the only way to get that to somebody who's not getting it is to have like some hands-on experience. Like, let's mix this together, and guitar's too loud, and this is that. Now let's listen to the track and like talk about how things are layered. And that's going to take time. Yeah. But I mean, you have a great start because they have the technical side down. So I think it's worth the time investment with a person like that. Yeah. And see, I think you're at an advantage because as the pastor, you're actually out in the room during worship. For sure. And as you know, I'm a worship pastor, so I've got these guys in my ears, and I'm just relying on feedback from trusted sources on how it actually is sounding in the room. And so, you know, Dylan, your brother, who's up leading worship, has you to kind of fall back on and say, how did he do? How did that sound guy do? And you can offer feedback real time even. So for the worship guy, would you just say find those trusted people and rely on them? I mean, I think every church should have a position called CET, Chief Ear Tech. Is what I call it. Okay. And I talk about this in my training in Church Sound Made Simple, but this is basically the person that everybody falls back on for how it's supposed to sound, because we're all going to have a little bit different opinion on what we want. And so there has to be, if you want consistency from week to week, then you have to decide who is making the call here. And this is the person. It could be the pastor. It could be just somebody in the congregation. It could be the sound guy. Like, you just need to pick who is getting it closest to how we want it here at church. And then everybody falls back to them, and there becomes this, and you have to make it clear, like, this is their role here at church. They decide how it's supposed to sound here. So they're going to give you feedback and they're going to coach you. And your goal, like everybody else's goal, is to come under their umbrella and figure out how to make it sound how that person wants it to sound. Yeah. That's the only way to get consistency. Yeah. We can't have everybody having their own opinions. Opinions are great. And I'm sure like a chief ear tech would be open to the opinions of others. Like, let's talk about some things. Maybe we want to make some tweaks in this, but there has to be that, that respect of authority there, to where there's one person that's making the call and everybody respects the fact that they've been appointed to that position. Yeah. Do you guys just have a review session on Mondays, or how do you handle week-to-week tweaks and that kind of stuff? Whenever we bring in somebody new and they're struggling to get what we want, then I would just schedule time to meet with them up at the church, and we would do what I just talked about, where we have some tracks loaded up from the previous Sunday, and I walk them through creating a mix like we want it to sound. And then I bring all the faders down and I let them recreate the mix, and then we talk about what they got right, what they got wrong, and we just spend an hour or two together with live tracks from a Sunday. It's the best way to train somebody. At this point in our church, the people who are running sound, we've already gone through that process with them. So they're all creating the sound that we want at No Limits. So we haven't had to do that in a while. Yeah. But when we bring on a new person, we'll probably have to do that again so that they can get the hang of it. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Well, hey guys, I want to bring a little attention to the fact that there is 5 minutes left. 5 minutes, guys, to register for the 20,000 subs giveaway. And so, let's see, on this giveaway, let me go ahead and grab this gear. Cade, can you hand me some of that stuff there if you can reach it?
So, featuring on the stream today, we've got the Go Stream Deck. This is from OC, and it is kind of like an ATEM, almost better in some ways. So it has 5 inputs if you count the USB-C input, and you can stream up to 3 different destinations at once, where like an ATEM can't do that. It can only go to 1. And it has 2 HDMI outputs, which is nice because you can have a multi-view and a program output. So I think that you can buy these for like $350 maybe. And so somebody will win this. And then these guys are the Ceremonic, I don't remember what they're called, but they're just the new headsets from Ceremonic, where you can communicate with your video ops, your ProPresenter ops, and it's going to come with all the charging stuff, the batteries, and this fancy schmancy case that they sent it to me in. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty sweet, y'all. This thing I think is around, I don't know, $600 or so, $650. And so Ceremonic is what we use week in and week out. We use their older model, actually. The We Talk, I think, or yeah, I've been sent so many of these things, I forget the models of which one is which. But I'm a fan of Ceremonic stuff as well.
I better go enter that giveaway.
Yeah, you better, bro. Watch you'll win like your year subscription to your own services. So somebody will be winning a free access to my course, and then also free access to yours. So
link in the description, right?
That's right. That's right. Let's see here.
Pretty sweet. I love that. Somebody's taken ATEM. Like we're coming after you guys.
Oh, they totally
competition's always great.
Yep. That's the best thing. Is like they're gonna hopefully, have some competition there in the budget switcher market.
Yep. We need that because then they'll both get better.
And even who was it? Rode came out with that Rode Videocaster that I reviewed, and it's the first gen of that, but I think it's a good competitor in that market as well.
For sure.
You know, it's got some different kind of features that could be interesting for churches. We'll see. So
love it.
Zach Brown, he says, I'm behind on listening, but I love the chief ear tech position. Yeah, it's pretty cool. If you're behind on listening, you might miss the giveaway, Zach. So hopefully you get in here. We got 2 minutes and 39 seconds left. Goodness gracious. Is there any new tech that you guys are implementing or that you've implemented in the last 6 months that you've enjoyed? Or
that'd be a great question for Dylan.
Oh, really?
I'm kind of like past I used to be a gearhead, and now I'm not. So I'm just like, Dylan's always bringing me the list of things that we need for church.
Yeah.
So we recently upgraded all of our cameras, and I think it's all Blackmagic gear. I'm not really sure, but yeah,
y'all did some lobby speakers recently, right?
Yeah. The JBL Control 28s, I think, is what the model number is, and those sound great. We were using a sound bar like on top of the lobby TV, and we blew it 3 times.
Was it just like a sound bar from Best Buy?
Yeah, a cheap one, or from Amazon or whatever.
Okay.
And so you're sending it like uncompressed audio signal, right? And it's not made for that. It's made for like studio quality sound. So you keep feeding it that Sunday after Sunday. And our venue is also an event center on the weekends, and we're not sure what people do there on Saturday and Friday. We just let them use the sound stuff and roll with it. They've blown a sub. I mean, they've blown things on Saturdays.
Wow.
But we didn't like those subs anyway, so we're kind of glad they blew those. Now we have a great one. So, it's worked out.
I was doing a tech tour, and they were showing how they use sound bars. I forget which ones they were. I'd have to look back. It was on the Crossings community one, but they were Dante-enabled sound bars.
Well, that's cool.
So you literally just send an Ethernet cable to that sound bar.
Very nice.
And then you can route whatever audio you want to it. So do you guys use a lot of Dante?
No, we don't use Dante at all.
So that's something we're going to try and dive into more in the remodel.
Yeah.
But we don't use Dante right now at all either. But I think maybe in a larger scale facility, it makes more sense.
We'll do that at our new facility.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, just routing audio over Ethernet makes sense, right? When
Yeah.
you have a network built out.
Yep,
So
for sure.
but yeah, when I saw that soundbar, they had them mounted underneath all their TVs and kids spaces and stuff like
That's
that, which was really, really cool.
And I imagine a sound bar like that is made more for a live audio situation.
And then at that point, it's probably a lot more expensive too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it just looks
not
so
20
clean.
bucks.
Yeah, it's not $20
Or $50 or
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah. All right, guys, we got 25 seconds left. If you want to scurry and get into the giveaway, I don't know what's going to happen. This page may show us the winners whenever this happens. We'll find out. As soon as this happens, I'll just either it'll do it or we'll refresh the page and it'll tell us the winners. And hopefully, here's the deal. If you don't live in America, I'm not shipping these things to you, but you can win the virtual things. So that's the only rules I have. We have hit 0. So what does this mean? Let's hit refresh and see what it does here. Winners haven't been picked yet.
You have to do that on your end?
Let me see. We'll go to a wide shot here, and I'll go into the back end here. Cade, what do you think about remote mixing? That's a big thing that people have been asking me a lot about. You know, these companies that will say, "Hey, we can actually remote in from, Afghanistan and mix your live stream for you." What do you think? Have you? Because I think that's something you could do for people.
I could, yeah.
I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, I'm not a fan, like just off the top of my head, because I think that we should be involving people in our churches to get involved in things like this. So why would I skip over the people who are in the room to have somebody virtually mix it just because I haven't invested into the training or the time into helping somebody in my church gain that skill? So I think it could be a great temporary solution, maybe while you're training somebody new. But I don't know that I would just jump to that as a permanent solution. I would rather get my congregants the right training, my volunteers the right training, and the right resourcing to be able to pick up that skill. Because I believe that just about anybody can pick up this skill of creating a great mix if they have the right training. And that's what I've been doing through Collaborate Worship all this time is how can you take somebody from complete beginner to confident behind the mixer in a short amount of time? And so that's what Church Sound Made Simple all about. All of my training is geared towards that. I even remember whenever I was creating the training originally, I had my nephew who knows nothing about sound go through the training and tell me with each video, like, what terms did I use that didn't make sense to you because you've never heard them before? And so took note of those things and then recreated the training and made sure to explain those terms. So for real, somebody that's a complete newbie could figure these things out. So as far as remote mixing goes, I know that there's a provider out there that enables this technology that was really thought I'd be really excited about it for Collaborate Worship. Like they just thought I'd really want their gear to make this happen so that we could implement a remote mixing situation at Collaborate Worship and maybe even hire some people at Collaborate Worship that are mixing remotely for people on Sundays. And I just said, no, I'm not interested because that's not my goal. My goal is to help local churches. And I think it's better to have a team in person pulling these things off than to lean on somebody virtually over in who knows where.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right, guys, the winners have been chosen, and so let's
Drum roll.
see if I can reveal them on screen. I have no idea where this is going to pop up, so of course, right over Cade's face. Let's change this position here. All right, we have our winners. We have Adam Morgan has won the Ceramonic headsets.
Nice.
W. Hutchinson, that's all I could tell based on your email, won the OC Go stream. Benji York, I believe was the name, got the Collaborate Worship subscription.
Sweet.
And Will Robbins, you won the Next Level live streaming free pass to my course. So, Will, your name's very familiar. I think maybe you comment on a lot of stuff. If you purchased my course already, let me know, and we can work something else out.
You can have a double dose of it.
Yeah, that's right. You can gift it to someone else. You know, you can tell me in the chat. Hopefully you're here. But yeah, that was cool. Thank you to I think there was around 350 of you that actually went in for the giveaway. Just happy to have this gear go to churches that can use it and that it's not sitting in my closet going unused, you know. So it's going to be out there and, you know, be able to be utilized to have the gospel be shared and do great things for God's glory. That's what it's all about.
It's awesome.
Yeah. All right. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, the way that some people always want to know how I'm doing all of this stuff. So I'll give you guys a quick little rundown before we jump back in here. And if you guys have any questions for Kade about your church audio setups, now is the time to get them in. Q&A is on the way. So here's the setup for today. Wow, that was a lot of rhyming.
Poet.
Wow. The MacBook Pro M1X is the hub for everything today. So we got 3 outputs going out of it. One output is the main output that you're seeing, where I'm just showing all of the stuff through Chrome, and all of that is going into my ATEM Extreme over here. And the ATEM Mini Extreme is getting the MacBook SYN for Chrome, but then it's also getting the 2 SYNs that are running H2R graphics. So H2R graphics is this program that, if I bring it up here and show this to you guys, this little program creates a rundown of how I'm running everything throughout the show. And a church could use this in some ways for your live stream to add like lower thirds and stuff. Like, for instance, like I forgot to put on this whole time these lower thirds that I made for us. So, and those are tied together. These are 2 separate little lower thirds that come on and off together that you can build right in here. And then H2R, this is the rundown version that you can actually run. So I'm actually facilitating all of that here on the iPad as well. They have different tabs for, like, the tab I have open is the social comments section, but I can also have that same rundown you're seeing here on an iPad or another computer. It's all based off the IP address of my MacBook. And so, like, I could fire the countdown or, you know, open up different things and run the social stuff. Or you even has like scoreboard stuff if you wanted to use this, like if you're running stuff at a game for your local high school or something like that.
That's cool.
But this is the pro version. I think it's like $50, but they do have a free version as well. So H2R graphics, I like heretorecord. They offer a lot of stuff. We use H2R gear to track all of our gear and diagram like the flow chart of our signal throughout our building and stuff as well. Mm-hmm. It's similar to Whimsical. I think I've heard people talk about Whimsical. So I don't know if you guys diagram any of that stuff, but going into the new build, I don't know if you're going to be doing...
We'll probably need that.
Yeah, so those are things to think about. But yeah, H2R is doing all of the little transitions, and anytime you guys super chat, it automatically will like play the confetti and do different things like that. So, but just this week, I went to having discrete key and fill outputs onto my ATEM, because before we were using just a Luma key because I didn't have enough outputs. Whenever I bring in a guest remotely, I have to have a different MacBook because I don't want to use like OBS and stuff. So I have them come in through another HDMI input, but then I don't have enough outputs. It becomes a whole big mess. So that's why I'm glad Kade is here in person today. It made my life so much easier. So thank you.
I was wondering if it made it harder, because then you have to set up another camera and...
Oh, I always have 3 cameras.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just had to
Of course you do.
I just had to point it at you instead of me.
I always have 8 cameras.
Why not? I've got more cameras behind me. You know,
do, yeah.
Half of them don't work. I'm serious about that. So, yeah, that's
Coolest background ever, though.
It is fun. You know, we started out with all these vintage lenses because it was just so much cheaper. I was like, I can buy a vintage lens for $30-$40, and just because we were setting and forgetting, so I was like, I'll just set the focus and leave it, and it looked good.
Nice.
As soon as you want to start like moving a camera, vintage lenses are not your friend anymore, because focusing them and I don't know, it just became problematic a little bit. So yeah, now they live on my shelf as mainly decorations. So
they still have purpose.
They still have purpose. Oh yeah, cameras. Let's talk about what cameras we're using. So this camera is the Panasonic S5 II with a 50mm 1.8, and then this camera is an S5 II with an 85mm EF adapted with the Sigma MC11 adapter set at 1.8. And then Kade's camera is the GH5 with the 35 to 100 f2.8. And so it still looks great, guys. Obviously, it's running at like 800 ISO, where my camera is running at like, I want to say like 400 ISO because it's at 1.8 instead of 2.8. But I mean, it looks pretty good. These are on real-time LUTs. So this is running the Stallman LUT. And so we're shooting in vlog on these two, this one and that. And then the GH5, I don't know if I have vlog installed on yours. So this is just running the natural profile. But I think it looks really good. Skin tones look good. It's just everything's daylight balanced in here. Because in here, I have 3 GVM lights. One is just shooting up at my drop ceiling. That's just like kind of shooting light everywhere to kind of create some soft light. And then just some random lights lighting us up in different ways. So it's way overkill, but Damien says it looks great, and I really appreciate that because it's a labor of love. You learn a lot while you're kind of setting up for videos and doing all this kind of stuff too. But
For sure.
It's fun, but yeah, it is kind of like, I could just do this on my MacBook probably. I don't know.
You know, I was telling my wife I was coming over here to do this, and she's like, "Oh, so it's kind of like your all's live stream reviews." I was like, "Yeah, kind of, but like way better because because Ryland like goes over the top with stuff. So he has this awesome background and like multiple camera angles and all this stuff going on. Whereas when Dylan and I do it, we have like one camera, or it's like super basic.
Yeah, that's and which is fine. KK asks, how are you guys encoding the live stream straight from the ATEM or using another software? And how about the stream setting like bitrate and such? Yeah, so everything today is going straight from the ATEM Mini Extreme. So I just hit on air on that, and it just is going to my YouTube API key. We're using ultra low latency, so that way I can get y'all's comments as quickly as possible. And I'm using, I think I went in and updated the XML file with 12,000 megabytes per second. So it's, I don't know if that's the same as the streaming high setting, but that's what, when I looked at the XML file, I had to update some macros in the XML file for this stream to update like our side-by-side that we were using for this, this setup right here. One thing that you can do if you guys ever need to update your XML file is if you go to heretorecord.com and you go to, is it tools? And then you go here to their XML generator. Let's see, is it this one? Yeah, so like here, you can put in your YouTube stuff, your bit rate, what you want, all those things, and then it'll kind of create all those settings for you to copy into your XML file. And then all you do is you save your XML file from your ATEM software, and then you open that up, add this in, and then you restore to that new file. And so, yeah, sorry.
A little magic there.
Yeah, but a tool,
Ryland magic.
A tool like this is really handy. Here to Record, if you've never played around on there, is pretty fun. I use them a lot for like building this macro right here. I use this tool right here where you can actually visually see your input. So you can come in here and add in, I want my camera here to be there, and then I want this camera to be added, and I want it to be cropped on the left and be, it's really hard to see this, guys, I'm sorry. You know, to be over there, and then you can build it out, and then you can even export that as a PNG, so that way you can bring that PNG into Photoshop and create a background to add into your ATEM media pool, which you see the background of this is just a PNG. And then you could make like borders around that little thing that we have going on here to like, or shading to make it look like it's all on purpose, is one thing that we'll do like with our sermon graphics a lot of times. So we've been using Super Source a lot of time. That's what this is called for our sermon graphics. Or like our pastor's been referring to a lot of like geographical things in Israel, like, hey, this is actually the cave where this happened. And so like he doesn't have a TV on stage anymore because of our limited space. And I hate it when he turns around to talk about the screen, because then on the live stream it just looks horrible. And so I'm like, here's the deal. I will put you side by side. So that way, you know, as you talk to camera and he can see above on the TV, on the back wall that it's there, but he's talking about it, but then he can refer, and now Livestream can see the cave and see him talking about the cave.
Nice.
So Super Source is a great way to do that if you've got one of the ATEM Mini Extremes or even a Constellation. I think our HD has it, obviously, that's what we use. So what do you guys use for a switcher?
It's an ATEM, one of them.
One of them, yeah.
Is there a Pro, I guess?
Yeah.
It's not the Extreme.
Okay.
It's the step under that.
Yeah. Is it rack mounted?
I don't think so.
Okay, it's more like this.
You know, Dylan just changed everything, and I haven't really taken a good solid look at it. So,
gotcha.
Dylan, if you're on, you can drop it in the comments and answer his question.
Funny. Okay. Budget says, okay, wow, those tools are actually awesome. Yeah, and then the last thing that I'll highlight here from Here to Record is that tool. It's h2rgear.com. It's the same thing. If you go to Here to Record, you can find it. But this is what we use to plan and diagram our AV racks and stuff. And so they've got a lot of the equipment built into this already. So like if you search ATEM Mini Extreme, it's got all the pre-configured stuff, and then you just drag your inputs to things. And so then when you're trying to figure out, hey, how is that lobby TV hooked up? Then you can refer back to this and say, oh, yeah, we ran it through that adapter above the ceiling in the kitchen.
Yeah, because you're not going to remember that.
No. Oh, I bet the power supply went out to the adapter in the ceiling above the kitchen.
Genius.
Yeah. So it's just, will you remember to stay up to date with all of your Dylan changes?
Right? Because usually when you have those days where you're swapping out gear and stuff, this is the last thing
It's
you want
the
to do, is
la-
go
it's the last
document
thing.
what you did.
Yep. That's funny. Let's see if we have any other questions. Let's see. Yeah, Damien, do you apply LUTs to your church camera footage? So, yeah, that's a great question. Do we apply LUTs to our church camera footage? Do you guys? Do you know if you are doing any of that with you're running Blackmagic cameras, right?
Yeah, sure. Don't ask me any visual questions. Yeah, because
I think you are.
Yeah.
If you're running Blackmagic cameras,
Ryland knows more about my setup than
I would say definitely take advantage of it if you're using Blackmagic cameras, because that is a big benefit, is that you can do the real-time LUT very easily with the Blackmagic cameras.
Yeah.
Even
Dylan's on here. He's going to answer.
All right, good.
Just using built-in extended video LUT.
Which is, I would classify that as a LUT, because you're taking advantage of the log profile, the more dynamic range, and then just using their built-in LUT. So for us, not all of our cameras have log, but on the two S52s that we're using, we are using LUTs on those. And we have noticed the dynamic range is better, meaning like the highlights from the LED wall and the bright lights on people's faces smooth out a little bit more, and then the shadows aren't, as black, as crushed. So we like the Stallman LUT is what we've been using. Tyler Stallman on YouTube, I think, is where is his name. The Panasonic LUTs are good too, just the GH5 Vlog LUTs or the S52 LUTs. I mean, there's the problem is, once you start going down that rabbit trail, it's like probably like Waves plugins.
You can just keep going.
Then you're in
Wait,
trouble.
There's another one, yeah.
And then you're in trouble because you've added so many things that you're like,
can't
why
keep
does
up
this
with them.
sound bad, or why does this look bad?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I should just go back to the beginning and just put an EQ on this. You know? Maybe I should just go back to natural profile and make sure that, oh, guess what? My white balance wasn't even right. That was the problem all along.
Yeah.
So you can get into some trouble, but that's what we're using currently. Yeah, there's Dylan. Yeah. Dylan says just using the built-in extended video LUT. And he also says they're using the ATEM Mini Pro church switchers, the ATEM 1ME with the Magewell Ultra encoder. What are you doing with your Stream Deck? And are you using Companion or their software? Yeah, so definitely we're big into Companion. I don't know, are you guys using these little Stream Decks?
We are, yeah.
Around?
Companion is what brings everything together, right?
Yes.
Kind of ties it all.
So you can do a lot with the Stream Deck software, but Companion is what we're using in the back end to take over and do everything here.
Yeah.
So I would love to do a full video. So here's the deal: is much like you have Dylan, I have a guy named Brett that is my companion wizard. Like, I know enough to be dangerous, but he has created this concoction of companion that you can control so much of our system with it now.
Yeah.
Anything that's on the network, like, he has these little subcategories and built menus for, and can do. It's so automated now.
I've met a guy like that where they're like, watch, and they push a button, it like turns the lights on in the lobby or something crazy like that. You're like, sweet. Not sure how you did that.
And I think that one of my favorite things about Companion is really the automation factor, because I'm all about, like, automate the things that you forget.
Yeah.
And like around here, one of the things we always forget is switching out our feed that's going to our hallways and our overflow area.
Yeah.
Because we're not in there.
Right.
And so now we've automated in Companion. It's going to change all of those audio and video sends 10 minutes before our service starts.
Nice.
So, and you can do that all in Companion just based on the scheduling of the event.
Yeah.
So yeah, we use it a lot. I actually asked Brett, like, hey, we should make a video about our Companion set. He's like, it's not quite ready yet. We need to wait till we move into the new space, because it's always a work in progress. But maybe I can talk him into it, or if there's something specific you guys are curious about. But like today, I'm just using the Stream Deck here just to switch cameras and bail to the super source and turn on the downstream keyer and off stuff like that. So yeah, that's how we're kind of using that. Hey, and Danny asks, what are LUTs? They're called lookup tables. Basically, they're looks that you can apply. Think of it like an Instagram filter. That's a basic way to think of it. Your footage would look very like if you desaturated everything and like me and Kay looked like it was just a washed out thing. That's how your sensor of your camera is actually seeing everything the cleanest. And then it's applying contrast and saturation so it looks pleasing. But typically, you can get the most dynamic range, meaning highlights and shadows look the most pleasing and cinematic if you use a LUT with log footage. Sorry if that was still too technical, but yeah, that's a good question.
IG filter, that gets the job done.
IG filter. Yep. Let's go. Yeah, that's right. Let me just circle back and see if there's any other questions here. Someone asked about compression and how we deal with it for our live streams, especially with YouTube, and like, do we think about compression with how YouTube ends up squashing our live streams? There's thoughts out there on LUFS. That's another, not LUTs, LUFS.
LUFS.
Can you talk to us about, like, are you shooting for a certain range with your end decibel reading or LUF reading, or how are you measuring all that on the final mastering?
We haven't like got that technical with it where we have a meter on the live stream to measure that. So I just go by ear. Like you can tell if it's way off because you're listening to YouTube videos and then you pull up your live stream from church or whatever, it's too quiet or it's too loud. And there's it's not like there's like a perfect, like, even though there's LUFS, LUFS, it's still, there's a variation still when you're watching YouTube. Some are a little quieter, some are a little louder. You just kind of want to aim within that range. So long story short, we don't get that technical with it.
Yeah. There is.
Are you measuring it?
No, we probably overcompress things. That's what I've been told. Is that maybe our precision limiter is probably hitting a little too much.
Yeah.
But like if we go on here and like I'll play back ours from this last week, I'll show y'all one tool that I did see. I don't know how accurate it is, but one thing you can do is if you right click on your video, oh Lord, I can't see that. Hold on. I gotta click over here. It's in front of my camera. And you go to stats for nerds. It will bring up this volume normalized. And you want to get this as close to zero. Well, they say that reading, if it's above zero, it means YouTube is compressing it and normalizing it. It's too loud for them.
Yeah.
So if you ever see +6 or something, it's saying, nope, we brought that down because it was too loud for our standards. So this is saying it read our live stream over the life of the live stream. It was underneath that reading, that limit, -1.2. So to me, that may be a little close to the limit, maybe. Most of the ones that I watch are usually closer to like -5 or 4.
Yeah.
But then, you know how it is, like, you can just see, like, based on your volume dial of your car, if you listen back, you're like, oh no, I always have to turn our live stream up to 25, but everything else is always at 22.
Yeah.
There's something not right there.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you mean by
Yep.
you use your ear?
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, you do have a video about using the precision limiter,
I do,
though, right?
Yeah. Which is the last thing that we put on the live stream mix to squeeze more volume out of it. I don't think that anybody, well, I won't say any, most people have a problem with it being too quiet, not being too loud. So,
Yeah. I think it's, if they have something too loud, it's usually not the overall volume. It's usually things are clipping on their own channels.
Right.
One thing that I did hear on some other live streams that I think would be helpful, like I peeked at a few different ones that we won't have time to get to, but I think this could help them, is I heard multiple vocals just overdriven. What is your process for dealing with, like, how do you set that initial gain for a vocal microphone or a speaking microphone? Can you walk me through that process?
You want to set it whenever they're in like a second chorus of a song, like when they're singing out, not at the beginning verse or whatever. So at that point, you want to set the gain to where it's hitting the point where the green meets the yellow. On some mixers, that's -18 dB. On other mixers, it's 0. But just look at the colors. Where green meets the yellow, whenever they're giving you a solid, strong signal, then you set the gain at that level. And that usually gives you the headroom that you need to where whenever they belt, because they got more, right?
Yeah.
Whenever they belt, they normally don't peak whenever you set it there. Now, some vocals have a bigger dynamic range than others, and you're going to find yourself having to dial back the gain to keep them out of red. They should never hit red. If they're hitting red, dial back the gain. And on speaking mics, it's a little more tricky because your pastor can go from talking normal to and then they shout, right? So when I'm setting my own mic for preaching, I will shout into my mic until I'm peaking, and then I'll dial back that gain until it's right under the peaking mark. So,
Okay. Are you a shouter?
I can be.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And I don't ever want a distorted signal ever.
Right.
So that's why I set my mic that way. But in general, like with a singing mic, you can do what I said. Now, an average speaker that doesn't really shout much, you can just say, get up there and preach for me. And then you set it the same way, where the green meets the yellow.
Yeah.
That usually gets you where you need to be.
Yeah. And I think something that a lot of guys don't think about, even I've caught myself, if you have a system that's new, especially, old systems may not have to worry about it as much, but if you have a new system, don't forget that don't just dive into your board gain immediately. Your mic pack has gain, right?
Yes.
And so you've got, how do you manage that appropriately? A lot of times on the receivers,
There is a gain on the receivers, and I haven't looked at that in so long.
Yeah.
But I do run into churches that have that set too loud, and so their signal sounds distorted, even though they're not hitting red on the mixer. And they're like, what's going on?
You look at the meters on the receiver, and it's actually hitting
maxing
red.
out. Yep.
You're like, that's why I can't get it to not be clipping.
Yep.
Because it's clipping before it ever even gets to the board.
Right.
So
in general, those can all be set the same. I want to say that it's like -12 dB is what you set those to, and is a great. I'm not 100% sure on that because I haven't looked at it in a while.
Yeah.
But in that case, I would just go shout into a mic.
Yeah.
And make sure that it never peaks back at the receiver, because you can't go change that, right?
Yeah.
So
see, we've got such old mics. They're like probably 18 years old. They're so old that they've got the little screw that you can trim the gain with a tiny screwdriver. So, but they still sound good and work well. They're still legal. Like,
still legal.
I mean, it's not getting approved for new in the new build either. So I don't know. We'll see. Sure, if you're out there, we need some ULXD. Come on, baby. Or Sennheiser. I don't care. I'm fine. Any new T-shirt designs on the way from CW?
No, not in the works. But you never know. We might surprise you.
Well, all right.
What a letdown.
Okay.
Can a high compressor level with a soft knee work for the main speaker? So you're probably talking about a high ratio. Maybe you don't have a precision limiter because you're using another mixer. Yes, you can set like the compressor threshold basically as high as it'll go, and it will work like a limiter. With the soft knee, will give you that soft response. So yes, if you don't have access to a limiter plugin on your mixer, then you can do that in its place.
Henry asks a good question here. How do you mix for online while being in the main sanctuary room?
It all comes down, if you're doing a post-fader bus mix, then it all comes down to making sure your room is EQ'd properly. And if that's the case, and you're creating a great room mix, and you've taken the time to make whatever variations you need to make for your bus mix, which are usually minor, like maybe you need to bring the vocals down just a hair for your live stream compared to the room because you run them a little louder in the room than you want to hear on the live stream. Whatever that is, you do it during a rehearsal. So you just put on a good pair of headphones like this that have great noise canceling. And it's even with this though, you're going to have a hard time getting the low frequencies correct in the room. Well, if you have more of a modern worship service, like there's a lot of low going on. And so you're just going to have to listen back afterwards and then come make an adjustment. Like we're always finding ourselves adjusting, need a little more bass guitar, a little less kick drum, getting that dialed in after the fact by listening to it.
Could that be a instance where remote mixing might make sense, where you have an actual volunteer here in the building, but it's like, I don't want to be in the room getting a not correct picture, so let's do the remote mixing solution, but in an office somewhere.
Yeah, they could be fine tuning it in another room. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know, that might work with some studio monitors in the room, and then it's remote mixing, but it's actually your people.
Yeah. We don't really have a place for that in our current facility. No matter where you go in our facility, you're going to get a lot of bleed from the main auditorium because it's a small space.
I gotcha.
But if you had a room off somewhere, like your office probably work for that, right?
Yeah, unless they're vacuuming outside your door, and then it doesn't work. But hey, we did get our fourth super chat of the day. Let's go. David, thank you. He says, can you still share that embarrassing moment? David, man, unless I'm mistaken, we're 1 away. Is that correct? Are we 1 away?
You need 5, right?
I think we need 5. I need to refresh this page because YouTube still says 3 out of 5, but I could swear we've gotten 4.
Come on. One of them was like $4.99.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
Oh,
you'll count that.
We'll count that. Yeah. We'll count that. That's funny.
Oh, you got another one.
Did we really?
Right?
Yep. I think we did.
Nigel.
Let's go. The other 5 for the embarrassing moments. Also, I sent my review late, about an hour. There we go. Nigel double dipping. I like it. He hit the $10 threshold for the live stream review that way. And he gets the story time with Ryland.
Yes.
Let's go.
All right, let it rip.
All right. Let's see here. Hold on just a second. Cade, you really don't have a story?
Gosh. I know I have stories, but it's just like they're not coming to me right now.
That's fine. I was going to pull up here on my favorite licensable, not copyrighted music website, Soundstripe. Something that kind of sets the tone here for Storytime with Ryland. I don't know. This is called Fall into Wonderland. Here we go. Wow, that's probably not the right music, but that's okay. All right. It was... What in the world?
This is a...
Hold on. Here we go.
Stories with Ryland.
Yes. Welcome to Storytime with Ryland, where I tell you stories from my past of my failures. The year was 2015, and I was leading worship for the youth. It was just me on an acoustic guitar and a bunch of youth. And I wanted it to be casual and friendly and kind of build a little rapport there with them at the beginning. And, usually we turn all the lights off and kind of set the mood. And today, for whatever reason, whoever's in charge just left everything on. So the countdown ended, the countdown music stopped, and all the lights were on, and it just kind of felt awkward. And I said, well, hey guys, welcome to Naked Worship. And everybody just kind of looked at me. And as soon as I said it, I realized how awkward that felt and sounded. And I was like, no, because the lights are on and it feels really weird. And it just feels like I'm naked up here without anything. And I just, youth never let me live that down. Luckily, that was just my homegrown youth group here at church. So, yeah, luckily for me, that was not videotaped, Cade.
Dang it.
So
that's perfect, though. Perfect audience for that kind of comment.
That was Storytime with Ryland. And Naked Worship. I don't encourage you to use that as your opener Sunday morning.
Unless you're trying to get their attention.
Unless you're trying. There's other ways.
Everybody will be like dialed in at that point. They're
Yeah.
like, what is
They're
going
like,
on?
what, is this like we going David dance before the Lord mode? What's happening here?
That'd be an appropriate scripture.
What
to
kind of
read.
church is this? No.
That's great.
I had to have a whole meeting with the deacons afterwards. No.
Almost got fired.
Yeah, seriously.
There go hashtag naked worship.
Hashtag naked worship. Let it trend, baby. Actually, no, we don't need that to trend.
But it's scriptural.
Yeah, to a point, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh my gosh. All right, before we get to Nigel's review, and I'll look his up. I'm just curious, Kade. What are your thoughts? Like, let's go a little deep. Let's switch gears here. You know, we're talking a lot about the church as it is now, and there's a lot of theorizing out there of what the church might look like in the next 10 years, 15 years. Some people say that Gen Alpha is becoming anti-technology, and that, you know, the era of stained glass and pipe organ is going to be the next thing. Where do you kind of see, what's your vision for your church? I mean, you're leading a church, and a lot of times us as worship pastors, we're told, hey, you know, submit to the vision of your pastor and whatever their vision is for the church. Like, where do you see the church kind of heading? And I know every church is unique, and there's plenty of space for lots of types of churches, but do you have any kind of thoughts on where we're headed or any feelings?
I don't think that we are headed like towards a certain, where the church as a whole is going to look a certain way. I think we're headed to the direction of every church having a unique expression, and the church world becoming comfortable with the differences between these expressions, whether somebody's stained glass or more modern or whatever. And like even you just said, you used to have a modern and a traditional service, and now you kind of combined it into one, and things are kind of like blending together. I think that where we're headed is that people are going to become less concerned with that expression and those things, and they're going to become more concerned with, what does the Lord want me to do in my day-to-day life to be the church? I think that's where the church is headed, and that's what I want to see for my church. Like, I want to see the business owners rise up and realize that they have a call from God to be a business owner, and the moms to rise up, and dads realize that's their call, and this is their season of life, and that raising children is the most important thing that they're doing right now. That's what I see the church becoming. And I don't think these other things are going to fade away. I don't think we're going to get rid of cameras and lights and things like that. I just think it's not going to be the focus anymore. It'll be a way that a certain group of the church serves the church by providing this experience for our gatherings. But all in all, we're all doing our own work for the gospel. You know, we all have our own special work, is how the scriptures say it. And so for so long, everybody's just been leaning on the pastor, worship leader, the professional church maker, people who are putting together Sunday services, leaning on them as if that's the only aspect of ministry. There are so many ways to serve the gospel, and the church is awakening to that, and we're all going to be cheering each other on, and it's going to be a wonderful thing. That's what I see for the future of the church.
I love that. I think that's super on point. I think that what happens in Oklahoma a lot of times is, you know, honestly, years behind what happens in other parts of the world. Mm-hmm. And so I may be naive, and I need to admit that while we live in the Bible Belt, that, you know, we hear things from Carey Nieuwhof or people in Canada, or, you know, that their experience is different than what ours is here. And maybe we're just not there yet, but also I don't always agree with some of that. And I think that just because there's some anecdotal evidence of maybe a pocket of some students somewhere, you know, flocking to, like, I know Frontline Church in OKC, amazing church, that skews more towards the non-technical side of things. There's space for that, and it's great. But then there's also thousands and thousands of students and young people that go to Passion Conference
Right.
that are worshiping with everything they have, and there's tons of technology involved there.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, technology is a tool, and it's however you use it that ends up determining if it's good or bad. And so I say there is no line as long as the motives are pure. So as long as we can just, and it's tough, right? It's tough when you are standing on a stage and lights and cameras are pointed at you and there's haze, and that thing can set you up to make you feel like it's all about you, right? But those are also just tools to be a vehicle for you. You get the choice then of what message you're going to share and who you're going to point to at that moment. So at the end of the day, I do think it's an interesting conversation. Another conversation that's being had all over the place is, we're talking about live streams here. For small churches, should they even be live streaming? Somebody asked on a video yesterday, should they even be live streaming? If there's only, 10 people watching your live stream, at what point should you even be worrying about all of this? And I have a video on my channel that you can watch that's in the Sunday vlogs where I talk about, is it even worth it to live stream? But I think that here's some key points that I want you to consider, and I'll let you chime in here in a second. For our smaller churches out there, I think that live streaming is a great opportunity for you, but think about it like this: connection over production. I think so often we try to be something we're not too soon in an effort to look like something we're not. And we miss out on what God actually has us, the strength of our church at that moment. Like, the great thing about a small church that people come to is like, man, I just feel so connected. I feel like it's family. Everybody knows each other's names and everybody's business. And, I know what I'm going to get there. And I feel like if I need something, Pastor Cade's just right there, and I've got his cell phone number, and he's just going to come over and help me out, and he's going to come help me move on Saturday. And, it's great. And I love that small thing. And I think that small churches need to lean more into that in our live streams as well. I would almost rather than have a 6-camera live stream with perfect audio, have somebody that is actually connecting with those that are choosing to join online and having conversation with them before, during, and after the live stream, having that live stream host, chatting with them, having a Zoom group with them afterwards. Those are some strategies we're implementing to try and get that connection. Online is hard. I get that. But that's a strength of small churches. So lean into that.
Yeah.
Now, I think that there may be other considerations for when is there wisdom on how to invest wisely in our live streams. You guys can you share kind of what you guys have done at No Limits? Because you've kind of taken gradual steps.
Yeah, I mean, this comes from the guy, we didn't live stream until COVID forced us to.
Yeah.
And even then I did it reluctantly, just how to do it. And then it's almost like you have to keep going. Our live stream for the longest time was a single camera setup. I always focused on great audio because I'm the audio guy, right? But then just a single camera. We recently upgraded to multiple cameras, and it's still simple. There's no roaming cameras or anything like that, but it's better because there's closer footage and things like that. But yeah, it's been very gradual. I mean, we're talking 5 years later is when so COVID was like an iPhone camera, and then we upgraded to a real camera, and then we had that for years until recently. For us, it's just, how do we keep this simple to where it doesn't become a burden to the people who serve on Sundays, but yet meet the need of, people always check out the live stream first. Every new person that comes, I've been watching y'all online for the last 3 weeks, and then I finally decided to come. So if we didn't have the live stream, they may have never showed up. So to me,
true.
That's probably the main purpose of why we continue to do the live stream, for that. And then we also have some older people who aren't able to come to church anymore, but they love our church and they still want to be a part. And there's something about that live factor. Of course, they could always watch the recording afterwards, but they want to be there live and understand and still be a part of what's going on in the room.
Yep.
So it serves them as well, even though that we're talking about a handful of people. I think they're worth investing into, because it's so easy to forget about the older generation, and we need to think about serving them in that way.
Yeah, it's the front door to your church for sure. we had a service for years for about 50 people, a actual in-person service, turn all the air conditioning on, the whole building, nursery, everything for 50 people. We have way more than that join our live stream. And so those are real people, you know, that are there. And so you have to, it's just the question of how can you then move them from spectator to engaged participant, discipleship, all those things I know are difficult conversations. And is it just a springboard to get them in your building, or is it okay if, like, we've even had conversations with people who have emailed us and said, we've been watching for months, can we join your church? Whoa, like, what do we do then?
Online members.
I don't know. We're a traditional Southern Baptist church. Not traditional, very not traditional.
Yeah.
But we are Southern Baptist church. Like, I don't know. That's a conversation we're having. But it is the front door to your church. It's also like a very easy content generation tool that every week now we've got things that we can pull from, you know, throughout the week to feed our social media stuff.
Yes.
And so that's another great benefit. And then, you know, you say at times it can be a burden if you're the only one running the machine. You know, we've got enough people here at our church that it's been a huge blessing that we've been able to plug in lots of volunteers, and they have now taken some ownership and love getting to be a part of it. So it can be a double-edged sword kind of thing. So Henry says, this is a great dialogue. Thanks, Henry. And I'm glad that you're here for it. So Small Church Tech says, we post our sermon slides on our Facebook page with a link to our live. That's a great way to do it as well. I'm curious if any of you guys use Sermon Shots. That's a program that I've been looking into. Corey, the owner there, has given me access over the last few months. And it's kind of expensive. It's like $50 a month. But I've been utilizing a lot of their AI-generated stuff post-service. We actually live stream directly into Sermon Shots. And then it actually generates 5-day devotionals based on the sermon script that it transcribes. It's got a lot of neat stuff that can I mean, like, your sermons you guys work so hard on, and then it can help us to not let that die on Sunday morning. Like, it can keep going throughout the week, throughout the, 167 hours, Brady Shearer says, you know, throughout the week. So if you guys are using that, let me know in the chat.
We're using a similar one called pulpit.ai.
Okay.
Does the same thing, though, and it's amazing.
Okay. That's cool. Somebody says here, Abraham says, we're starting to use an AI program. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be interesting. Jorge says they use Opus Pro. Yeah, Opus Clip, like, it's not on the same level. It just pulled random things for me where it wasn't very helpful.
Yeah, it's better to have an AI tool that's geared towards understanding how a sermon works and is laid out and what kind of content you want to pull. It does it better.
What did I say about after service interactions? So something we've been trying is we do a thing called the deep end, where we're trying to get those viewers to move into a video call on Zoom, which we actually moved it to a Google Meet because we realized Zoom, like, a lot of people think you have to have it installed. So it's a Google Meet recurring link where one of our pastors is there, and then actually our pastor comes in about 10 minutes later, and it's just going through those discussion questions from the sermon and getting to meet these people. It's been tough getting people to take that next step. A lot of people want to hide and not be seen. They're happy to chat, but it's that next step of getting live on a camera. We've had some interaction that's been good, but we're going to try it for a few months and just keep pushing it and just see how can we get them moved from spectator to engaged participant. And I think that's one tangible way we can do it. So yeah, we're trying it. It's called the Deep End, and I'll keep you guys posted on it. It's just one way I'm trying to keep pushing it.
Nice.
I did hear somebody talk about at a recent call that I know of a church that's trying to develop a AI large language model based on all the information developed from this certain church's preaching, books, all the different things. Because I think some AI is not necessarily friendly to, you know, Christian ideologies maybe. And so, you know, it can be a little dangerous when we're letting AI develop 5-day devotionals based on our sermons. You know, you have to go back through those things, obviously.
For sure.
But so who knows where we'll be in 10 years? I mean, those things are definitely going to be playing parts in it. So, Yeah, Nigel, let's circle back to you and let's get your live stream review. And then we got 10 minutes left, and then it's lunchtime here in Oklahoma, guys. So we're going to get out of here. So if you got any burning questions, drop them in the chat right now. Let's make sure I got his pulled up. Yes, I do. Nigel, I don't remember what. Mark, you said 317. I'll see if I can get it to that. Ooh. 317. Close enough. Here we go.
Hallelujah. Come on, clap those hands for Jesus. If you want to give him praise, come on and tell him thank you. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your power. Thank you for protection every hour. Come on and give him praise. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. 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 Thank you. Thank you, Lord. 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 Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord.
So they're recording multi-tracks with the Soundcraft UI-24R into Studio One, and then they mix it and then stream it the next day.
Okay.
Is what's happening. So some of the biggest pain points, he said, is getting reverb right, maybe the kick drum balance, and somehow like getting a wider, bigger mix.
Yeah. I think the reverb's good. Your use of reverb is solid. It's not distracting, but it's there. Like, everything sounds lively. I think the problem with the mix not sounding big enough is the vocals are just too far in front of the mix. If you'll bring the vocals down, there'll be a better balance between the vocals and the instruments and make the mix just feel more balanced overall. Also, another thought I had is on your background vocals, is assuming that they stay background, is to experiment with some panning on those vocals, because they were all kind of singing the same thing. Pan them the way you see them visually from left to right. I wouldn't go any more than like 20 to 25% panning. Like, I'm talking just slight panning, but it's going to make those vocals sound more like a choir instead of a single vocal just pelting you right in the middle of the audio sphere over and over again.
Yeah. And if they do, since he's post-mixing this, you definitely could pan, you know, per song and all those different things. I mean, that's more tedious, but you can make presets based on who's leading what, or even what microphone. I love that bedazzled microphone that that leader had.
You
Come
need
on,
one of those.
How do you label that mic on the X32? What preset? What scribble strip do you use for bedazzled mic?
I don't know. I just call it Diamond.
Diamond.
Yep.
Let's go. Oh man, I thought the audio sounded pretty sweet though. I mean, the band was grooving. Let me roll to another part here real quick, Nigel. Let's see here.
Hallelujah. So while it's saying it's changed me, you might be saved. And make me
Got some trumpet going.
And more like you.
One thing I remember from your stream, Nigel, is you're running these Lumix G7s and G85s, and in your room, they look really good. I mean, it's just, you're not doing any crazy lighting. It's just room light, but you guys have lit, it's enough light to where everything looks really nice. Very nice clarity, the colors, the white balance, they all match. So I appreciate that. I am typically not a fan of dissolves. Even on slow songs, I try to reserve dissolves for between video elements and things like that. That's just my taste. If you watch normal video stuff, typically it's just cuts. But that's up to you. If you can get lower thirds on there eventually, maybe for some lyrics, that might be something to think through. It just depends on. I would say if you're posting it a day later, I mean, I don't know. How are you engaging? It's interesting when you post it a day later, but it's still like a live stream, because it's kind of like not live, but live. You know,
Or like a premiere.
it's more like a premiere.
Yeah.
And so people who would have the opportunity to chat and stuff and like be there together as like an online church, and like Life Church does that and other churches, but maybe it's not live. Maybe they just post it so that way their congregation can just go back and watch it. That might be fine.
Yeah.
Let's listen just for another minute here.
Like only you can, I need you to change me, oh God. I need you to do it for me, Jesus. Oh, change my heart, change my mind, change my life, Jesus.
Yeah, BGVs maybe.
Yeah. They're a little loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, it's good, though.
Yeah.
It's a very engaging mix. Makes you want to join in.
That's right. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, Cade, are you tired? This is a long one. We did it.
I need a pee, actually.
That's
to,
right.
To be quite honest. I think I drank too much coffee before
That's the way
this.
it goes.
Yeah.
That's always like my signal of like, hey,
Time
I think
to go.
It's time.
Yeah.
Well, you guys say thank you to Cade in the live stream. If you're just joining in, we did announce those winners earlier in the live stream. You can go scrub back and you'll see that. But check out Collaborate Worship. They offer tons of great stuff. Check out my live streaming course. I offer one great stuff. And remember, at the end of the day, guys, you can do a lot of great things. Let's do it all for God's glory.
Amen.
We'll see you in the next one.
See ya.